Hey everyone, this is going to be a beginner's guide to branded or a branded 101, whatever I feel like calling it. Basically, a very starter, new player oriented guide to the deck, the full version of the deck. I have another video that shows off a budget version of the deck that's missing quite a few cards. This one is not. This is a fully built version of the deck. I'm not going to go through a card by card. If you want to read the cards in the deck, you'll find a deck list at the top of the description below, which you can read if you want to. None of these cards are special. All of these are what I would call pretty standard, at least for the current meta. If you open that deck list and it looks different, that's because the meta changed. An example would be like Albion goes in and out of the deck depending on the meta. Right now, as of the recording of this video, Blue Eyes Primite is really popular, and this card destroys them, so I play it. But things like that can come and go like on a whim. I would say like I only changed like maybe 5 of these cards out at any given time, like total between like main and extra deck. The rest of it's like pretty stock standard. Otherwise, it's just like tech options and stuff. But this guide is geared towards new players, people who are just picking up the deck and haven't touched it yet, and want to learn the basics in order for them to expand outwards and learn more. The deck is very complicated, and this is like the building blocks you'll need to understand the deck. I'm going to go through and I'm going to do all the like the 1 and 2 card combos. I'm not going to do like the 3 card combos and like the super crazy high roll hands. A lot of these are really just things you need to know in order to play the deck in general, not necessarily to play it to like some extreme degree. This is very much geared towards getting people started. So in this video, I'm just going to cover all the like the major 1 and 2 card combos that you'll be doing like almost every game, at least 1 or 2 of them. I'll also leave the written guide made by PoisonRose in the description below as well. If you want to see written versions of these combos, I'm performing the same ones because they're all pretty good. If you want to see a written version of this that you can refer to, that will be in the description below. I strongly recommend that as well if you're more reading oriented. And I also recommend you actually perform these combos yourself as well. Don't just watch it and try and do it. Go into solo mode, choose to go first, and just do the combo. All right. Okay. So for each of these combos, I'm going to refer to the deck list and just highlight the cards that could be used for it. For this first combo, we're just going to be focusing on if you hard drew Branded Fusion. It's a 1 of in the deck. We generally play 60 cards. Some decks play 46 or less. But for this combo, you're the chosen one, and you drew this card because you're built different and the opponent isn't the protagonist. You are. Okay. So we're going to Branded Fusion. Oh, and we're going to pretend these 4 cards are nothing, as per usual. Alright, so we're going to use Albaz plus Despia and Tragedy. Fusion Lubellion, Lubellion the Searing Dragon. Discard doesn't matter, so I'll just pick whatever. Again, we're assuming these cards are nothing. Keeping things simple. Tragedy, we're going to get Quem, because she counts as a Despia. And then Lubellion's going to make Mirror Jade, sending these 2. Then you normal summon Quem. And you send Albaz back to the graveyard. And then if you have other stuff in your hand, you can say it, but this is the board. Very simple. 2 very potent endboard pieces. Can become a lot more really fast. Do not underestimate the power of Quem. I know this is just a 1500 level 4 monster. She's so much more than that. She's such a powerful card. She's almost as strong as most of our boss monsters. She's almost a boss monster in of herself. She's a crazy, crazy card. Um, so during your opponent's turn, what you can do is you can and just to like explain, I'll try and explain the purpose of the end board before moving on to the next one, so you have just an understanding of what you're supposed to do. Because performing the combo is one thing, actually knowing what you're supposed to do is another. So let's assume this is all you have, right? And then it's your opponent's turn. You're going to, well, let's see if I can make them do it actually. Summon a monster, please. Pretty please. Come on, AI. You just have to summon a monster. Cool. All right, so they summoned a monster. Now, we don't want to. We need them to summon. Of course they're not. So you can defend Quem and go like this. So you probably noticed that I paused for a second before I sent Rinbrum, and I was actually going to send Red Albion, the Fusion Albion, instead for a second before I reassessed and decided to go a different route. There's a reason for that. That was just a very quick decision-making process. And as you can see, Rinbrum is activatable here. Rinbrum cannot summon himself because I did not properly summon him first as per the rules of the entire game. But he can summon Albaz for me. So, you know, we at least got that going on. Then we banish this. Now this will trigger Quem. So what was I trying to do here? If the opponent attempts to combo off and they summon a bunch of cards, I can use Mirror Jade, send a card, and then because Quem, what's trying to activate here is this effect here. If a card leaves the extra deck, it is the most like broad stroke term ever. Leaves. Like if something's summoned, if you activate Mirror Jade, if it's either player, it doesn't have to be you, it can be the opponent, like any number of things, she can target a card and then try and summon it. Which she's trying to right now because she sees Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard and can summon him. So let's say they summon 2 monsters, and then I can banish one with Mirror Jade, and then I can summon Albaz, assuming that it's a proper target, and then I can fuse with it, and then I can do more and more and more and more and more. Because they summoned a monster and went to battle to try and fight over Quem, I decided to send Rinbrum instead, because now Rinbrum can summon Albaz for me instead later in my turn as another piece of disruption, and so on and so on and so on. Just very, like, I know it looks like, oh, you summon 2 monsters and that's it, but there's so much more going on the second you activate even like 1 or 2 effects. Like, this is just a very, to like an average player who's used to seeing like 4 monsters, like 3 back row and stuff like that. Like, this looks like a really unassuming board, but this can become a big problem really fast. Alright, so let's move on to the next combo. I'm just going to hit retry until I have the proper hand. Okay, for this next combo, you're going to need one of 3 cards. You either need Aluber the Jester of Despia, or Foolish Burial, or Gold Sarcophagus. This is the normal summon Aluber combo. For this example, I'm going to be using Gold Sarcophagus. But Foolish Burial and Gold Sarcophagus are interchangeable because they're going to perform the same role in this combo. So it could be either or. So let's, again, we're going to assume the other 4 cards are nothing. Gold Sarc. We're going to banish Despian Tragedy. This works with Graveyard or Banishment. That's why Foolish Burial and Gold Sarcophagus are interchangeable. So, going to send that. Tragedy effect, grab Aluber. Normal summon Aluber. If you had Aluber just in your hand, you would have skipped this part and just summoned him. And then you're going to grab Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion. Then you're going to make Red Albion with Albaz and Bystial Lubellion. As a habit, I'll generally summon all my monsters in defense mode during turn 1. Red Albion effect. And then we're going to be summoning Fusion Lubellion with the Aluber on field and Albaz in graveyard. Defense mode, just, because this thing has bigger defense anyway. Discard, we're going to just whatever. Just pretending that's whatever. Albaz in Banishment back. Mirror Jade. Our, best boss monster, basically. Then we're going to tribute over Red Albion here to summon Bystial Lubellion. Oh, I realize what I've done. Brandon lost his, was in my opening hand. Oop. I kind of autopiloted there a little bit. I would have activated this and then played this. Oh man, let me do that. Ugh. I'll do that again. Be right back. Okay, we're back. Tribute over Red Albion. Bystial Lubellion. Okay, now we can activate him. Okay. Without having messed up this time, this is the end board. Or, well, let me go to end phase. Now, there are options. Can I? Of course not. Am I not allowed to look at my graveyard while I'm doing this? Oh, there we go. That'll do it. So, why am I picking Branded Banishment? It's very important to know what you can and cannot do here. So, in the deck, check deck, you can do any branded spell trap. So, the 3 primary targets for this are Branded in Red, Branded Banishment, and Branded Retribution. They all have various use cases. Branded in Red is good for when you have Fallen of Albaz or Despia in the graveyard. More so Fallen of Albaz, really. Even with a Despia, you would pick Banishment. Retribution's good when you want to recycle cards, set up your following turn, recycle Branded Fusion so you can do it again immediately on your turn, and so on and so on and so on. The reason why we're picking Branded Banishment is because it works with a Despia or a level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard. You special summon it, and then you get to fusion summon something. So that's why we're doing Branded Banishment, because we have Red Albion in here, who is, in fact, a level 8 fusion monster. So, Branded Banishment. Oh, and I'm going to ignore Branded in High Spirits, because that wasn't... We're pretending that's a nothing card. So what does this end board do? Let's assess our points of interaction here. We have a live Mirror Jade. He can be activated whenever. Bystial Lubellion is fusion material, fusion fodder, big body, etc. And we have Albion the Branded Dragon in the graveyard, along with Branded Lost and Branded Banishment. This is a, again, deceptively very powerful board that can do a lot. So, a lot of people play this card here, Light and Darkness Dragonlord. He requires a Light Dragon and a Dark Dragon, both of which need to be level 8, and then he, of course, has to be fusion summoned. You can't cheat him out. A lot of people ask, I get asked all the time on like Discord and stuff, how do you summon this guy? What's he for? And stuff like that, because Red Albion and Fusion Lubellion can only summon level 8 and below. This guy's level 10. What do you do? This is what you do. I'm just going to shotgun it to show it. Banishment. This guy. Summon. Doesn't matter where, because he's going away immediately. This guy. That guy. They both get banished. Boom. I like to summon him in attack because his attack stat's slightly higher. You may activate Branded Lost here, and he won't negate it because he negates activations, and this is a continuous spell that's already been on the field, so you're allowed to grab this freely, you can get Mercurier for when he's gone. Alright, so what's our board here? Assuming I didn't just shotgun that Banishment. You got a live Mirror Jade, you got 3 negates. This is another negate for when this guy's gone and no longer chain blocking everything. That's why I like to not shotgun that if I can help it. Because you can also summon like Mirror Jade back and stuff in case they like just blow up your guys with like Raigeki or something. But yeah, just very potent end board. Let's move on to the next combo. Because this is just like banish plus like 3 negates. And like other stuff that you can do as well. Okay, now we're going to start getting into some of the tougher combos. These are going to be the 2-card combos and will make up a bulk of your opening plays. You're going to see lots of 2-card combos when you see this deck, or play this deck, I should say. For this combo, you need Aluber, the Jester of Despia, as well as a copy of Fusion Deployment. Alright? So, you're going to always lead with Fusion Deployment. And we're going to summon Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. The Grand Guignol reveal happens instantly. The reason why we're summoning Cartesia first is because she has a quick effect fusion effect. So when we summon Aluber here, under normal circumstances, he would, if he was by himself, he would be very vulnerable to disruption. You could get Impermed, Veiler, or, you know, what have you, you know? But with Cartesia here, if they were to chain Imperm to this Aluber, you could just fuse away with it and then dodge it. But, you know, we don't have to do that because this is a bot and we're just going to just do a combo here. So, Branded Fusion. And then we're going to go through our red Albion line as per usual, and we're going to be doing so with Bystial Lubellion as our light target. Again, we summon a defense as a force of habit. This Aluber's, so we're doing the same thing we did in the standard branded fusion combo. You're going to see this often. You have Albaz plus a throwaway dark monster. We're going to summon Lubellion the Searing Dragon. Discard whatever. Assume dead card. And then we get Mirror Jade. Again, you're seeing all these effects are happening underneath Cartesia's protection. If they try and Imperm or Veiler any of these effects, you can activate Cartesia and dodge them, and they would need like a second one or something to beat it. Like Imperm Veiler or something. Like back to back. Gonna activate him. Branded lost. And now we no longer need, we've done the bulk of our combo and this is already like really scary. So now we're just going to increase the ceiling of our board by using Cartesia's effect. And we're going to fuse for Grand Guignol using herself plus Bystial Lubellion here. Okay, now we have a few options here of what we can get. Because, you know, Branded Lost is just really good. But we're just going to get a negate. Negates are pretty good. So we're going to grab Mercurier. We have Mirror Jade on the field, so Mercurier is live. And then for the thing we're going to send to the graveyard, we're going to send Titaniclad. This is Grand Guignol's effect. He could send any level 6 or higher, light or dark. And we're going to send Titaniclad. And now this is the end board. If you could set other stuff, you can, but we're just going to assume that's it. End it here. So, time to trigger some cards. First things first, we're going to summon Quem. The order of this doesn't super matter, but I like to summon Quem first because she can do things potentially. The things that Quem sends can vary a lot. As a rule of thumb with this deck, you want at least one copy of Albaz, OG Albaz, in the graveyard at all times if you can help it. Not all times, but like most of the time. You want just have him available to be summoned and cycled back to the deck repeatedly. Having him in the graveyard in general is very good. So a lot of the times I will use Quem to send Albaz here. Or you can try and do a higher end play that's like more fancy and greedy. But I think this is just super safe, super reliable. So we're just going to send Albaz. Then Albion the Branded Dragon. Now we actually have a couple of choices here in what we can do. So let's assess what our board state currently is. We have 3 valid options. We have branded, like last time, branded in red, branded retribution, and branded banishment. If I set branded in red, my only valid target for it is Fallen of Albaz. I can summon him, and I can fuse him away, and then I can make like Sanctifier or Rindbrum with the Mercurier in my hand, and like so on, right? I could also set Branded Retribution, in which case I can use the Red Albion and Titaniclad in my graveyard as the guys to send back for this and recycle them. And then I have Branded Fusion to add back to my hand during that turn to use during my turn. And finally, we have Branded Banishment. Branded Banishment is a valid target because we have Red Albion in the graveyard, in which case we can summon Light and Darkness Dragonlord like you saw in the previous game. As a rule of thumb, I think it is most safe and, consistent to set up a way to get to this guy, which will be branded in red or branded banishment. Or rather, what you want to do is you want to be able to stop things like evenly matched. So you either need a way to get to this guy, or you need a way to get to this guy, who's just an Omni Negate. But for a long time, we were just making this guy, and you just like play branded in red. But now that we also have this guy, branded banishment is a really good option too. So it really depends on like what you want to do. I personally don't want to banish either of these. Granguinal has an effect that will summon a monster for me, and Quem is crazy. So I'm going to set Branded Banishment. And then if my opponent goes for evenly matched, you turn your toggle to on during their turn. And in my settings, I have it changed automatically. And then at the start of battle, assuming, let's say their turn comes around, they draw, they go straight to battle phase, you can Branded Banishment in response, make Light and Darkness Dragonlord or whatever you want. In this board state, I can't right now, but I can get there, basically, through one way or another. Looking back, I probably, like, there's stuff I can do, basically. I won't go super in depth because this is getting into like complex territory, but basically, this works. And we'll get Cartesia back to our hand. This deck likes to discard a lot, so Cartesia just putting herself back in your hand all the time is pretty good. All right, so again, we have a live Mirror Jade. We have Branded Banishment. Could also be branded in red, whatever you prefer, given whatever else you may have going on. Branded in red might be better. Branded Banishment might be better. Both are live. And even Branded Retribution is like pretty good too. I just think red and Banishment are better because you get punished less. Especially with Branded Lost on the field, you just generate more card advantage. But that's enough of that one. Let's go on to the next combo. Okay, for this combo, you're going to need Blazing Cartesia, the Virtuous, or you're going to need Fusion Deployment, which is going to summon her. So you're either going to normal summon Cartesia, or you're going to Fusion Deployment to summon her that way. And on top of that, you also need either Albion the Shrouded Dragon or Bystial Saronir. All right. For this hand, I happen to have Fusion Deployment, which is the better of the two. You'd like to special summon Cartesia whenever possible and not have to use your normal summon on her, but again, we're going to pretend these other cards are nothing. All right, so summon and immediately activate Cartesia. We're going to fuse her to make Granguino using herself plus the Saronir in our hand. If this was Albion the Shrouded Dragon, you would just fuse with that instead. They're fully interchangeable in this combo. Activate these in sequence. Send Branded Retribution. And then you're going to send Shrouded. So, you may have seen, and I should have paused it. I always forget to. In that screen, you saw that Granguino here, she could have sent either this or this. So if you started with Albion the Shrouded Dragon instead, you would, fuse with that, and then Granguino would send Saronir. And we started Saronir, so instead we sent Shrouded. That's why they're interchangeable. So at this point in the combo, regardless of which of the two you opened, you're at the same point. We're going to activate Shrouded's Graveyard effect, and we're going to send Branded Fusion. And then we're going to immediately activate Branded Retribution to put said Branded Fusion into our hand. You don't have to chain it to this. You could do it like in the chain after, but it doesn't matter. To my knowledge, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so then we are going to proceed to activate Branded Fusion. And then we're going to, second verse, same as the first. We're doing the red Albion the Branded Dragon line. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. We use the leftover Saronir in the graveyard instead of Aluber on field because we don't have Aluber. Discard whatever. So by now, you've probably noticed I'm doing this line a lot. It's one of the most card efficient and generally most safe and potent, not to mention consistent lines we have. It reliably sets up Branded Lost, which is one of the best cards in our deck for being unfair to other decks. Alright, so we're seeing a pretty similar endboard to what we have before, but in addition, we also have Granguino the Dust Dragon on the board. Albion the Branded. Again, we have options, but I believe the best option here in this case, because Albaz isn't here, is that we're going to be saying Branded Banishment because we only have one valid target. When I'm picking the Albion, Red Albion set card, I always try and pick something that I have a valid target for. And I only pick Branded Retribution when I have two fusion monsters in the graveyard to reset that I want to reset, such as Red Albion and Titaniclad. Assuming I do pick it. And I generally don't. Unless I have, I hard drew these guys, and then I set this. So, set this. And then Cartesia comes back to your hand for the free card advantage. And then it's their turn. And that's the combo. And again, we're in a very similar position to the last game. Granguino, if they summon a monster by its own effect, this will banish itself, and then you can summon Quem. Or, let's see, Despia and Proskenian's a really good one, depending on the deck you're facing. Coertis, she's a really good one. Yes, this is a she. Got lots of options, lots of things to do. If they blow up your board, you can summon Mirror Jade back with Branded Banishment. You can Mirror Jade if they remove it, they can summon them back. Just a great time. All right, let's move on to the next combo. Okay, we're back. For this combo, you're going to need Aluber access, as well as the Bystial Lubellion. Let's look at our deck and review. So you're either going to need Aluber, Foolish Burial, Gold Sark, just like the... So we're basically enhancing the Aluber standard one-card combo line, and we're just going to take a different direction with it, and we're actually going to be going through Rinbrum this time and showing what he can do. Alright, so you could technically start with either of the cards. Because Droll and Lockbird exist, it's generally accepted that you summon Aluber first. You can try and be a little meta and fish for Ash Blossom with the Bystial Lubellion, either to see if your opponent has a response and chooses not to do anything, or, you know, what have you. But we'll assume we're playing around Droll and Lockbird, and even though nothing's going to happen to us, we're just going to play it as quote-unquote safely as we can, and we're going to Aluber first. Aluber grab Branded Fusion. And we're going to activate the Bystial Lubellion. And then we're going to grab Saronir. Now we're going to change things up this time. We're going to Branded Fusion. And instead of making Albion the Branded Dragon, we're actually, as I shrink this down, we already have the Bystial Lubellion in Graveyard. So we don't need to make Albion the Branded Dragon. We already have this in Graveyard, so we can skip that part. We have other things we can do. So what we're instead going to do here is we're summoning Rinbrum. And we're doing so by sending Albaz plus Mercurier. I like to summon Rinbrum to the EMZ, and I usually summon Rinbrum in attack mode because its defense is only 2,000, which makes him easy to run over. At 2,500, he's a lot tougher to run over, and if he ends up in the graveyard through, like, Lightning Storm, I'm not super bent out of shape about it because he has a good graveyard effect. Anyway, activate Bystial Saronir, and we're going to banish the Mercurier we sent from Branded Fusion. We're going to summon him. And then Mercurier is going to activate. And then we have kind of our choice here, and there's a lot we can grab. But the best one here for us is going to be Cartesia. We're going to immediately summon Cartesia. Cool. And now, because Bystial Saronir is a level 6 Dark Dragon, we're going to summon Bystial Lubellion. Defense mode, of course. Then Saronir is going to trigger. And again, we have a lot of options here, but pretty much rule of thumb, you're almost always off of Saronir when you don't have anything else loaded up yet. You're pretty much sending Branded Retribution like every time. Alright. Now we're going to use this, and we're going to fuse for Granguino using Cartesia herself. Now you do have options here, but it's pretty much always correct to fuse with Aluber here. And then Granguino. Granguino effect. And now we're going to send Albion the Shrouded Dragon. Or, well, no, we're not. I'm sorry, I misspoke. We're saying Titaniclad. I had Shrouded on the mind because we're about to get it from Branded Lost. So we're saying Titaniclad. Oh my god, I forgot to activate Bystial Lubellion first. Ugh. Alright, I'll be right back. This is what happens when you just autopilot and you're distracting yourself by talking. I'll be back. Hey guys, look, we're back. I totally didn't mess anything up, and Branded Lost is on the field like it's supposed to be. And we make Granguino with this and this. And I totally didn't mess that up. So I think this is where I mentally mix things up because I'm used to Branded Lost being here, and then this is where you grab Albion the Shrouded. I have one in my hand, but I'm going to grab it anyway because we're pretending that's a nothing card. But yeah, I'm just going to assume that's what I mentally did to myself. Setting Titanic Clad. Cool? Cool. Alright. Albion the Shrouded. And now we're going to send Branded in White. We're going to pretend this drew nothing. Branded Retribution that we sent off of the Saronir to grab the Branded in White we just sent. Branded in White. And then you're going to fuse Fallen of Albaz. So you're going to make Mirror Jade. Use Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard plus the Grand Guignol in the field to make Mirror Jade. Now, it is important to note that Grand Guignol's effect to summon a monster after she sees something be summoned, this can happen in field or graveyard. So having her in the graveyard is totally fine. If anything, it's slightly optimal. Alright. Now we're going to do a little bit of a trick here. We're going to activate Mirror Jade, sending Albion the Branded Dragon, and we're going to negate the activation of this with Rinbrum. And you do get the choice to bounce a card in your hand, but we're not going to. And the reason, so what just happened here? Number one, we don't have to banish one of our monsters, our own monsters, which we don't want to do. And because Mirror Jade was negated, his effect is, under normal circumstances, not able to be used on the following turn it was used. However, if it's negated, this restriction no longer applies. So he'll actually be live on their turn. But because his effect sends for cost, we still got to send Albion the Branded Dragon. Alright, so from here, we're going to just... I have Banishment in my hand, so I'll just set it. Alright, so again, we get to activate our effects. Titanic Clad. Summon Quem. You're probably seeing a pattern here. Quem's really good. She's going to send... we don't have an Albaz in graveyard, so guess what? I'm sending an Albaz. Oh, look, Cartesia wants to come to my hand. Cool, get in here. Albion the Branded Dragon. Insert debate about, you know, Branded in Red versus Retribution versus Banishment that I've been saying every time. In this case, I'll set Red because I have Banishment from my hand. And then that's the end board. You got Rinbrum. So let's assess our board here. Quem, crazy card. Mirror Jade, crazy card. Rinbrum negates an extra deck monster, bounces. Doesn't even have to be the same thing. You can bounce anything you want. So you can negate something and then bounce something else because fuck them. You got Branded in Red, Branded Banishment. Super powerful board. This will beat most decks in the game like very, very, very handily. Let's move on to the next combo. Okay, for this hand, let's go to the deck. You need either Aluber, access to Aluber, or in this case, I'm just going to use Branded Opening. Again, we're going to assume the other 3 cards in this hand are dead, and the other card we need is Bystial Saronir. Alright. Branded Opening. And I'll discard Droplet, I guess. Doesn't matter. We're summoning Aluber. Then we're going to grab Branded Fusion. Now this line is going to look real similar to the last one for a little bit. Because this is, again, the Rinbrum line with a Bystial. But this time we're using Saronir straight out of our hand instead of searching it with Bystial Lubellion first. We've opened the card instead. Cartesia sees Albaz in the graveyard, so she's allowed to summon herself. And now you're going to see the major divergence here. We're going to make Granguinol using her plus Saronir. Granguinol effect, Saronir effect. Saronir is going to pitch the Branded Retribution. I have one in my hand. That's what threw me off. I was like, why don't I see two? Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that pause. We're saying Albion the Shrouded. You're probably recognizing this from the Cartesia line. Cartesia plus Bystial. Albion the Shrouded. And then we're going to be sending a Branded in white. And then we are just going to be grabbing that Branded in white. Cool. Immediately activate it. Mirror Jade, Albaz in Graveyard plus Granguinol. Mirror Jade effect. And we have options. We can either send Quem or Albion, Red Albion. I believe it's generally superior to be sending Titanic Cloud because Quem's such a powerhouse card. And then we are going to negate this. And this time, we're actually going to choose to put a card back on our hand. And we're going to give ourselves Aluber back so that we have him for next turn. Or just discard fodder. I'm not going to normal summon him because we'll assume that you could have normal summoned him. And plus, normal summoning him doesn't even do anything. But, yeah. And then we go to the end phase. Summon Quem. You've seen this before. Quem effect. Now, Albaz isn't in graveyard, so guess what? We're going to be sending one. And then you could leave Cartesia in graveyard, but I generally prefer the card advantage aspect. So I bring her back to my hand so that she's good discard fodder. And then we got Rinbrum, Mirror Jade, Live Quem. Again, pretty solid board. Oh, and there's Albaz plus Granguinol in the graveyard. Never underestimate the amount of effects that you have going on that aren't necessarily on the field. Like Granguinol activating in the graveyard and like being able to summon Albaz. Like for example, let's just as an example, let's say they summon something, and it's like what's a good example? Let's say they summon, I don't know. For some reason they summon something and it's a light or dark dragon. Or just any dragon, I should say. They summon a dragon of some kind. And then you're like, oh, cool. Sure. And then the Granguinol triggered because the monster summoned itself via its own effect. And then Granguinol banishes itself. And then you summon either Proskenion or Quertus. And then Quem's like, cool. I just saw that leave the extra deck. And you summon Albaz. And then like Albaz fuses with their guy, makes whatever guy you want, and then you can like pop something else. This is on top of the fact that Rinbrum's a negate, Mirror Jade's a negate, or not a negate, non-targeting banish, other N-word. Not the N-word. Oof. Oof. But yeah, just another pretty good combo. Moving on to the next one. Okay, for this combo, you're going to need, as I whip out the deck list, you're going to need any of the other Bystials. There's Magnum Hut, Drua's Worm, and Baldrake. Baldrake being the one I don't play in this deck. At least currently I don't. So this hand assumes you have access to Aluber in some capacity, as well as Bestial that isn't Lubellion and isn't Saronir. So the other guys, basically. Alright, so we're going to go get our Aluber first things first. Oh, I just realized this. Nah, I'll make it work. Because these cards don't mean anything. As I see this Mercurier in my hand and go, oh no. But then I realized it's not going to matter. Just go ahead and pretend this Mercurier is any other card. It's going to pull a little bit of a Houdini in a second, but you don't worry about that. I had to hit the retry button like 15 times for this hand. And I'm not doing that again. Alright, so just pretend Mercurier is in the deck and not in my hand. Cool? Cool. Yeah, he just came out of the deck. Don't mind the fact that he was in my hand. He totally was used in the deck, and we just have another card in hand that is whatever. Alright, so Druid's Worm. Banish the Mercurier. We're going to grab Cartesia. Cartesia effect. We're going to fuse her, and we're going to fuse her with Aluber for Granguinal. Granguinal effect. And then, excuse me. Going to be sending Titaniclad. End turn. Now a lot of people go like, "Oh, what's branded sword in the deck for? What is this card?" This is what it's for. Branded sword. Mercurier back to hand. Cartesia effect, back to hand. And there you go. You got a Bestial on field and all that good stuff. Negate, Rinbrum, Albaz in graveyard, and so on and so on. Let's move on to the next hand. Okay, we're back. This hand is like a version 2 of the hand I just played. You need Aluber plus a non-Saronir, non-Lubellion Bestial. So, Aluber. This hand's going to look real similar, but it's going to present a different style of endboard. Also, I don't have Mercurier in my hand this time. Change this to auto. Banish the Mercurier. If you have Magnemite as your core Bestial, you want to activate him second because his effect is less important here. Alright, we're going to grab Kit. Kit effect. Summon herself. And then she is going to be getting branded in white. And then send back, whatever. Branded Retribution, I guess. Branded in white. And then we're going to be making Lubellion the Searing Dragon, Albaz in graveyard, plus Aluber. Aluber is nice to have in the graveyard because he actually has a graveyard effect a lot of people forget about. Discard whatever. Make Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade effect. And then we're going to be sending Titaniclad again because Quem is really, really, really strong. Negate. And then we will put a card back in the hand. We're going to give ourselves our Bystial back. So now you have the Bystial back in your hand for your upcoming turn. If you summon Magnemite, you're going to get another Bystial, which you'll see in a second. I'll grab Saronir so I have one of each. So Titaniclad, summoning Quem. Again, we have no Albaz in graveyard, so we're going to be sending one. We always want to keep one of him in rotation. And then you could grab Saronir and he'll give you more follow-up, but I believe when you're going first and there are turns about to happen that Drua's Worm is the correct grab. Drua's Worm is just a really powerful card because it serves as a double disruption. And then that's the end board. You got Mirror Jade, Quem, Rinbrum. Kit doesn't super matter, but she's a body and could be relevant for like fusion shenanigans and whatnot. And you have two Bystials in your hand, or at least one. In this case, like if I had Drua's Worm here, I would have put Drua's Worm in my hand, and then Magnemite would just be in my deck. But because I summoned Magnemite, I got like a bonus Bystial basically. And that's the end board. Moving on to the next one. Okay, this is one of the more unconventional hands in which we'll be using Branded in High Spirits, as well as the Bystial Lubellion. So, we're going to start by activating the Bystial Lubellion. And we're going to be grabbing Saronir. Then we're going to immediately activate Branded in High Spirits. We're going to reveal Saronir. And then the one we want to send is Titaniclad. We're going to discard the Saronir, and we're going to actually search Quem. Saronir effect. Send Retribution. Now we're going to normal summon Quem. Quem effect. And she can send whatever. We've been sending Albaz with her a lot, but in this case we're actually going to use her to combo. And in this case, we're actually going to be sending, excuse me, Branded Fusion. Activate. Branded Fusion to hand. And then, you guys know this one. We're making Red Albion. However, we've already gotten... Now, this is a key divergent point in how this line of reasoning works. Bystial Lubellion's already in the graveyard. However, we have Quem on the field. So we have a very interesting thing we can do here in which we send Cartesia instead. And then we summon Albion, the Branded Dragon. Now, because Quem just saw a card leave the extra deck, in this case... Albion the Branded Dragon, she's able to immediately summon this Cartesia. And then we're going to do the rest of the Red Albion line as per usual. Albaz plus Bystial Saronir. Discard whatever. Again, assuming dead cards. That. Bystial Lubellion. Get Branded Lost. And then we are going to fuse. Oh, come on. Her plus him. Granguinal. Activate in sequence. With Lost, we want to get Mercurier for the negate. And then with Granguinal, we are going to send... We got options, but... we're going to be grabbing Albion the Shrouded Dragon, or rather sending, I should say. They're going to activate this. They're actually going to send Albaz, so that we have an Albaz in graveyard. Puts himself back. Gonna get an Albaz to hand. You could summon him, but there's really no reason to. He's great to have in hand because he's like just really good fusion material. And then we got options here as well. You could set Branded in red. You could set Branded Banishment. You could set, like I've already done this discussion a bunch of times. So set the one you prefer the most. Branded in red's really good. And then you can add Cartesia back to your hand or not. There's pros and cons to both. I prefer card advantage, so I'm going to. Nice to have her in hand because she's good, like, Sanctifier material. Like, you can grab, like, let's say you got Branded in red this time. You can grab Albaz in your graveyard, bring him back to hand, and then fuse him plus Cartesia together to make Sanctifier on their turn and play through that way. But yeah, that's the end board. You got a Granguino, Live Mirror Jade, Quem, Branded Lost, your red Albion set of choice, Albaz in graveyard, and just like a loaded graveyard in general. If you get through to Branded Retribution on their turn, you can set it up to recycle these guys for you or other guys. So just a pretty good board, and shows how Quem can be used as a combo tool rather than just a end board piece. Alright, moving on to the next one. Alright, we're back. For this hand, we need, as I pull up the deck list, you either need Bystial Saronir or Albion the Shrouded Dragon, or as well as, I should say, you need one of those two, and then you need Branded in High Spirits. Alright. So if you have Saronir, you can perform this in draw phase to avoid Droll and Lockbird, because Droll and Lockbird is main phase only. But because we have Albion the Shrouded Dragon, we're going to do something a little tricky here. So we're going to proceed to the main phase. We're going to activate Albion the Shrouded. We're going to pitch Branded Retribution. Then we're going to chain Branded in High Spirits. And then we are going to reveal the currently activated Shrouded. And then we're going to send Titaniclad. And we will send it to the graveyard. And then we are going to grab Quem. I'm going to change this to on. And then you're going to, I mean, like it's going to look real similar to the last combo. She's going to send Branded Fusion, Retribution, Branded Fusion to hand, Branded Fusion, now we do have options here. You could send Lubellion, you could send Cartesia. I believe that it is superior to send Cartesia because Quem is on the field and Quem's going to summon her immediately and provide more value, and we'll get to Lubellion later and you'll see how. Okay. So grab Cartesia. Alright. Then we're going to be doing our standard Albion into Lubellion into Mirror Jade here. So you, if this was Saronir, you would just use Saronir. And then actually we're going to do something a little different here. We're going to be activating Cartesia now so that we can basically use Fusion Lubellion here as a free material. Because he also works with Graveyard, of course. And we make Mirror Jade that way. And then this is actually going to send Bystial Lubellion. And then Bystial Lubellion will tribute over Red Albion. Then you can activate Branded Lost. And there you go. There's your end board. End phase. Here, you're going to set Branded Banishment pretty much every time. You could set Retribution if you wanted to, because you do have 2 targets for it, but I believe Banishment is better. Titaniclad. Going to add an Albaz to hand. No, we do not want him on the field. And then you could leave Cartesia in the graveyard, which in this case you do. The reason why we're going to ignore Cartesia being in the graveyard, and I'll show you on their turn. Come on, summon something. Summon anything, any monster. I could banish my own monster, but I don't want to do that. Just summon something. Any monster. Cool. Alright. So, Mirror Jade. Rule of thumb, I like to send, during their turn, I will generally send Rinbrum, and you'll see why. Banish you. Look, Quem saw a card leave, so she activates. Gonna grab Cartesia. And now you could wait here, but I'm deliberately doing this to show you why we added Albaz to hand and left Cartesia in the graveyard as well. So Cartesia here can fuse with the Albaz to make Sanctify. Like, there's a lot you can do here. You can do because it's Albaz plus Light, because she is a Light. You could, and more importantly, you can summon Sanctifier. You can summon. There's a lot of options. And more importantly, you could send Granguinal, which I believe in this case is superior because Granguinal has a graveyard effect. Because Sanctifier calls for a light spellcaster, Granguinal is basically the manifestation of Cartesia, like dragon part. So better to just do it this way. You have a Branded Lost trigger. Grab Mercurier. Now, the reason why I sent Rinbrum is because now Rinbrum's live. Rinbrum can banish itself to summon Albaz during their turn. Let's say they remove Mirror Jade, like let's say they like Raigeki me or something, or like I've done whatever, right? And I can just make another Mirror Jade, and then I have another Mirror Jade activation, plus I've removed a card from their field. And like so on and so on. So yeah, just lots of options, lots of things to do. Super versatile end board. Don't be afraid to flex your creative muscles and really show people what you can do. Alright, moving on to the next one. Okay, for this hand, I have toggle on in my settings, so it stopped me in draw phase, which is, nice to have. Setting I recommend to change. For this hand, we need Fallen of Albaz plus Branded and High Spirits. If you can do this in draw phase because you have the setting turned on, I recommend you do, because it plays around Droll and Lockbird. Send Titaniclad. And then we're actually going to get Springen's Kit. Kit can be activated here because she sees Titaniclad in the graveyard. Activate. Branded Fusion. Put a card back. Branded Fusion. And then we're doing the Red Albion line you all know and love. Lubellion. Using one of the Albazes plus Kit. Kit is basically taking the place of Aluber here. I shouldn't have done. Whatever. I reset a lot of times to get this hand. Okay, I can't activate this. I only have one copy of Branded Lost. Pretend I activated him real quick. Cool, we play the card. Yeah, cool. We all with it? We all with it? Key jingle. I activated Bystial Lubellion and played Branded Lost from my deck. I played it from my deck and my hand didn't matter. Cool? Cool. Alright. Summon Quem. Now there's a bit so we already have an Albaz in graveyard. So we do have options on what we could send. So it's kind of just up to you. There's not too much going on here. I think the best one to send. So there's again a couple options. I think the best one, because we already have Albaz in graveyard and we have Mirror Jade on the field to do things with, I think the best one to send is Cartesia, which is what I'll proceed to do. And then you could add Cartesia to your hand, or you could I'm going to set Branded in red here. Grab Cartesia. Now, the reason I did that was because Albaz is a branded in red target, and Cartesia can be fused with him to make Granguinal, can make Sanctifier, can make, Red Albion again, and he can make whatever, and so on, and so on, and so on. You get the idea. But that's the end board. I've explained it a few times, but Quem plus Mirror Jade plus Fusion, Speller, Trap, quick, version. Generally a pretty good end board that does a lot more than it looks like at first with a Albaz in graveyard. Alright, let's move on to the next line. Okay, for this combo you're going to need Aluber, the Jester of Despia, via normal summon. Branded opening won't work for this. It just has to be either Aluber himself, Foolish Burial, or Gold Sarcophagus, because you need to normal summon him. And you also need Fallen of Albaz in your opening hand. Again, the other three cards here won't matter. We're going to start with normal summon Aluber. We're actually going to get Branded in High Spirits this time. Activate Branded in High Spirits. We're going to show Albaz. And then we're going to be sending Red Albion for once. Discard Albaz. And then we're going to be getting Springen's Kit. Activate Kit. Summon. Activate. And then we want to get branded in red. Specifically. Then we'll put Lost back again. Doesn't matter. Assuming it's a dead card. Now, interestingly, the reason why I'm doing this is because we are actually going to be using Verte. So the reason why, I'll show it quickly. The reason why branded opening does not work for this combo, just to show it quickly, is because it has the text here. It says, also for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters. Verte, as you can see, is, you know, a link monster, so if you were to use branded opening, it you proceed to not be able to summon it anymore. So we're going to Verte for branded fusion, and then we're going to chain branded in red because it's a quick play. We're going to grab Albaz. And then we're going to fuse him with Verte for Mirror Jade because Albaz works with any extra deck monster. And then Verte is going to be making Rinbrum. And then we're going to do so with... under normal circumstances, you could just use Mercurier, but in this particular circumstance, I happen to have Molcharmi Fulos in the deck, and this really isn't going to be doing anything else, and we could potentially get Mercurier for later. So I'm actually going to send the Fulos because, you know, it's useless. Summon Rinbrum. Now, something to be careful of as I proceed to look in the wrong zone. Verte stipulates that you cannot special summon monsters for the remainder of the turn. So we are going to activate Mirror Jade, and we're going to send Titaniclad. We're going to negate it with Rinbrum. Bounce nothing. Resolves. End phase. Albion. And then we are going to set... it could be any. However, in this particular situation, we've used branded in red, as you can see. Branded Banishment is live because Aluber is still in the graveyard. And branded Retribution is live because we have, you know, these on the field plus these in the graveyard. In this particular situation, it's hard to say which one's like strictly superior. I think there's cases to be made for both of them. So you could set either of them, really. In this case, we'll, I don't know, we'll just set, it doesn't matter. The one you prefer. And then Titaniclad effect, we're going to search Quem, and she automatically comes to her hand, doesn't even give us the option to summon her. And then that's the end board. You got your set branded spell trap that isn't branded in red because branded in red was used on our turn. You have a live Mirror Jade and Rinbrum, as well as Albaz in the graveyard for later combos and shenanigans with like Rinbrum or like summoning him in some other way or what have you. Alright, next combo. Okay, for this combo, you're going to need Quem and the Bystial Lubellion. So, Lubellion effect. We're going to get Saronir. Quem effect. Actually going to send Mercurier. Saronir effect. Banish that Mercurier. Summon it. Mercurier effect. And then we are going to be looking for Albion the Shrouded Dragon. You probably see where this is going already if you've watched up to this point and seen the other combos. We're going to grab that Bystial Lubellion. Activate Saronir. Saronir is going to send Retribution. Lubellion's going to activate. Branded lost. Albion the Shrouded. And guess what, baby? We're sending Branded Fusion. Gonna activate that. Assume dead draw. Branded Fusion. Activate Branded Fusion. And now we already have Bystial Lubellion on the board. So, and we have Quem here, so we are going to do the little trick where we send Cartesia instead. Big chain here, big chain, big chain. Good old three chain. Gonna grab that Cartesia. Alright. We'll search Albaz. Assuming I didn't just draw one. We're searching him for a reason. And then we're going to get Lubellion. And we're going to use the Albaz in graveyard plus the Saronir in graveyard. Put him here. Okay. Activate. And we're going to discard whatever. Aluber, I guess. We're going to make Mirror Jade. Using you plus the banished Albaz. That goes here. Then we're going to activate Cartesia. And then we're going to summon Granguinal using Cartesia plus the Albaz we searched to our hand, which gets us an Albaz in graveyard. Then this is going to send Titaniclad. Search a Quem. And then we're going to leave Cartesia in the graveyard. And then here we have Albion, which can be put in the graveyard for further follow-up on their turn during their end phase. Mirror Jade, Quem, Granguinal, Branded Lost is on the field. Albaz is in the graveyard. You know the drill at this point. Let's move on to the next line. All right, here we have another version 2 combo with Quem plus Bystial Lubellion. This is going to be a little bit better, in my opinion, and probably the one you should play. I should have probably done this one first. So, we're going to start off the same way. I'm going to grab Saronir. I already have one in hand, but we're just going to pretend that other one doesn't exist. Quem. Quem is going to pitch Mercurier. Then we're going to use that Saronir that we just searched. Banish Merc. Courier Search. And then we're going to grab Shrouded. Oh, I have both Retributions in my hand. Ugh. That's gonna mess this up. Can this send... Hand or deck. Okay, cool. I can still do it. I thought so. I just had to double check. Gonna have a little flip here. Gonna send Branded Fusion. Immediately activate this. Branded Lost. If this was in your deck, you would absolutely be sending it from your deck, but it's in my hand, so we're doing this. And then we're going to be grabbing that Branded Fusion. Now this line is a little more complicated, so stay with me, stay with me. Oh, this summons him? Okay, sure. I forgot it does that. I'm gonna be real. I've summoned this guy to the field a single-digit number of times. It is rare to be doing that. Okay, so similarly to last time, we're going to be sending Albaz plus Cartesia. And then we'll summon him here. I'm trying not to mess this up. And then we're going to activate Albion the Branded Dragon, and we're going to activate Branded Lost, but we are not going to activate Quem quite yet. Sorry about that, had to pause. With Branded Lost, we're going to be searching Fallen of Albaz, like last time. And this time we're going to be summoning Lubellion, using the Albaz in Graveyard plus the Saronir here. I guess it didn't really super matter how we activated and resolved this. We're going to use Quem this time, though. I did kind of flub this. It works. Alright. Then Cartesia effect. Mirror Jade. You're going to use the Albaz plus the red Albion on the field to summon Mirror Jade. And then we're going to Mirror Jade effect to send Titaniclad. Going to negate our own Mirror Jade. Then we're going to bounce Bystial Lubellion back to hand, just for next turn. Titaniclad effect. We're gonna. You want to keep at least one Albaz in deck, so we're going to add a Quem to hand again for next turn. And then Albion the Branded Dragon. We're actually oh, of course, I forgot I discarded Retribution. I'm gonna need you to pretend that I'm setting setting Branded Retribution. It should be in the deck, but you know it is what it is. Just pretend that's Branded Retribution, and then the intent here is that Branded Retribution can send back a face-up fusion monster you control or 2 fusion monsters in your graveyard. So we're actually going to be sending, assuming it was on the field. We're going to assume it's on the field. You would be sending back Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. And then now our end board is Retribution, sending back a card we want back in the extra deck. Mirror Jade, Rinbrum, Cartesia, Quem. It is worth noting that, and I'll show with them. Summon something. Come on, buddy. I want to show this at least once, so I need them to summon a monster. Summon anything. Cool. Alright. So, Mirror Jade. Send a guy. And then we're going to banish something. Oop. Toggle on would have been better, but whoops. Doesn't matter. I'm showing you the same thing anyway. We haven't used Granguinol yet, so we can actually fuse Quem plus Mirror Jade here. I don't care that they set 3. And then we're going to activate these in sequence. And we can actually bring Mirror Jade back. And we'll activate Lost just because. We'll grab Mercurier. Quem will summon back Mirror Jade. And then Granguinol can send whatever. In this case, we could send, I don't know, Saronir, I guess, or again, doesn't super matter. Depending on what your hand was and what have you, you could be sending Retribution here. You could be sending Branded and High Spirits for additional card advantage. If you fear destruction effects, you can send Branded Opening. Branded Opening has this neat little sentence here that says, if a fusion monsters you control will be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This is a reactionary type effect. I don't know the exact Yu-Gi-Oh term for it, but it's kind of like Hugin in Runic, where the card sees the thing happen and then you're just allowed to activate it in response. It doesn't like start a chain. So there's, again, a lot you could do here. But something you'll notice is that Mirror Jade, who is normally only able to do his effect once every other turn, can now do his effect again. The reason being is that Mirror Jade is a soft once per turn, quote unquote, monster. So if you're able to get him off the field and on the field again, either the same copy of the card or one's removed and you summon the other one, you can do the effect again. The limiting factor, of course, being that you can only control one of him at a time to stop that from being, like, you summon 3 Mirror Jades or something from your extra deck and you just have 3 Mirror Jades that all can do their effect. Instead, you kind of have to work for it by getting him on and off the field repeatedly. And in some board states, you can do this several times per turn, 2, 3. The most I've ever done is 4, but that was like super high roll and really weird. But yeah, that's showing the soft reset of Mirror Jade. Alright, let's go to the next line. Okay, for this hand, we're going to use Quem plus Cartesia. I can't be asked to reset a bunch of times. I saw I had Foolish Burial plus Cartesia, so we're just going to do some good old pretending. And I'm just going to get Quem this way. Okay. So we're going to ignore these 2 cards in my graveyard, and this is my opening hand now. So the opening hand is Quem plus Cartesia, but not fusion deployment. This fusion deployment doesn't exist. This is just the actual monster Cartesia. Okay, so Quem, and we're going to be sending Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. Now, because Albion the Shrouded Dragon is counted as Fallen of Albaz, he takes his name while in the field or graveyard. We can summon this. And then you're going to immediately activate Cartesia, and you're going to be making Grand Guignol. Now, it would be great if you had another monster in your hand to not fuse away Quem, but we're assuming the other cards in your hand don't do anything, so this is going to be Cartesia plus, unfortunately, Quem. But it's okay. We'll get there. Cool. Grand Guignol effect. We're going to be sending Saronir. Saronir effect. And Saronir, as usual, is going to be sending Branded Retribution. Then we're going to be activating the Shrouded we pitched before to grab Branded Fusion. And then we're going to get Branded Fusion to our hand. Activate Branded Fusion. We're going to be doing the standard red Albion line. Albaz plus Lubellion for red Albion. Again, we're ignoring this tragedy. Not that we would send it anyway. Saronir is a better one. Discard whatever. We assume this hand's all garbage. And then we make Mirror Jade. Summon Bystial Lubellion. Bystial Lubellion effect. Branded lost. And then by this point in the video, you're kind of seeing how the deck works. You, through various hands and like board states and whatever that you like kind of navigate towards like similar but not like fully congruent boards. Oh, and for Albion, we're just going to be... actually, I want to note something here. That Banishment is extremely good in this particular circumstance. And we are absolutely going to be using Banishment here because Quem is in our graveyard. So this allows us to summon her back and then fuse with whatever we want. Because branded Banishment doesn't have to fuse your monsters. You can use any monsters. So being able to summon Quem, fuse stuff, and then Quem saw stuff get fused and then can immediately activate is just an incredibly potent thing to do in general. So we're absolutely saying Branded Banishment every time. And even if you weren't like gonna use Quem, you're just gonna like use Albion the Branded Dragon with like Bystial Lubellion here to make Light and Darkness Dragonlord or whatever. It's still like the best thing you can do because it leaves the option open to Reborn Quem, Reborn Mirror Jade, and so on and so on. And you have Branded Lost to help protect you, and you'll get like, Mercurier and so on and so on. Okay. Let's move on to the next line. Don't worry, just still hitting the reset button here. Attempt number like 20. Okay, here's one of the last ones that we're going to do. This hand requires you to have Aluber or access to him via normal summon or what have you. Like Branded Opening will work too for this. As well as Branded in White. So, we're going to summon Aluber. Aluber effect. We're going to grab Branded Fusion. And then we're going to use Branded Fusion. And then instead of the normal red Albion line, we're actually going to be summoning Rinbrum here. And we're going to be doing so with Albaz and Mercurier. Then we're going to be using Branded in White that we opened our hand with. And then we are going to be summoning Lubellion, the Searing Dragon, with the Albaz in Graveyard. And because we're using Albaz, we can also use the Mercurier we sent. Lubellion. Lubellion 1. Discard whatever. Mercurier 2. And then we are going to... Sorry for that pause. We're grabbing Kit. And then this is going to be making Mirror Jade. Kit effect. Summon herself. Kit field effect. And then the things you can get here are pretty varied. You're just basically adding to your end board here. Branded in Red, Branded Banishment, Branded Retribution are all good choices. For this, I believe our best option will actually probably end up being Branded in Red. And you put whatever back. We're going to activate Mirror Jade. We're going to be sending Titaniclad. We're going to negate our own Mirror Jade. And then we're going to be sending Kit back to our hand. Set Branded in Red. End phase. Titaniclad triggers. We're going to be summoning Quem. Quem to the field. Quem effect. Quem sent Albaz. And now Branded in Red is live. And now our end board is Rinbrum, Mirror Jade, Quem, live Branded in Red with Albaz in the graveyard. As well as resetting Kit for our upcoming turn. And Aluber on field, which does kind of matter if certain things work out. I have one more line to show that is a 3-card combo. I'll show one 3-card combo because they tend to get very complicated. Okay, so this hand is a bit complicated to play. This hand, or line I should say, is going to be using Fusion Deployment, Aluber or Quem, and then Branded Opening to search the missing one between Aluber and Quem. Alright? So this is something you may see in a actual game. Alright, so first things first, we're going to activate Gold Sarcophagus. Nice way to check for Ash Blossom as well. We're going to be sending Mercurier. Under normal circumstances, we could send Tragedy, but Tragedy's in our hand, so this is what we're doing. And we're going to get that Quem. Fusion Deployment. It is nice to, as a rule of thumb, to do Fusion Deployment as early as you can into your combo before you commit to any other effects on the field from monsters, so Cartesia functionally protects them. Alright. Normal Quem. I think this is gonna not work because I can. Okay, I'm gonna need a little bit of imagination from you guys. Branded Sword. You're just gonna pretend I sent Mercurier. Just pretend I sent Mercurier instead of Sword with Quem. Just pretend. Just pretend. Actually, this isn't going to work either because I've already activated this. Ugh, getting this sample together is so challenging. I'll be back once I have a rectified version. Hard opening, tragedy, and not the appropriate cards messed up this hand. I'm just going to get back to the proper game state once we're at the Quem or Aluber part. Just real quick, it's worth mentioning I could have fixed that hand, but it's just not the example I wanted. Like, I could have gone like a different line, but I just had something else in mind that I wanted to show that does come up like fairly often. Like, it's like deployment plus Aluber or Quem plus like opening, because you have so many copies of the cards in your deck. That tends to be a 3-card combo you have access to pretty often. So it's a 3-card combo I wanted to show because it's so prevalent. It's one I do like all the time. But the fact that I hard opened tragedy really messed up that hand because I had to send like Mercurier, and Mercurier's supposed to be sent off of Quem, and I could have fixed it, but it's just not good for the example because that's just not how the combo is normally supposed to work, and this is a beginner guide. I don't want to get into like super advanced stuff where I'm like juggling cards around. Alright, I'll get back to you when I'm at the proper part. See you in a few. Okay, here we go. We're just going to take it from the top. So, this is the actual hand you're supposed to see without any like complex things going on. So, okay. Rule of thumb, and this is a hand you may see in any game, you know. This is just why I wanted to put this sample out there in particular, because you lead with fusion deployment. So, as always, we lead with fusion deployment because we want Cartesia on the field before we attempt any other monster effects on the field, such as Aluber. So Aluber is going to get us branded fusion. And then before we branded fusion, we're going to opening. I'm just going to discard Maxi here so it stops prompting me. Under normal circumstances, you would of course keep Maxi in your hand, but I'm sick of clicking off the prompt. We summon Quem. And then Quem is going to send Mercurier. Alright. Now we're going to do branded fusion. And then we're going to be making Albion via Albaz plus Bystial Lubellion. We are not going to be activating Quem here. We're saving her for later. Same with Cartesia, of course. And we're actually going to go straight to Rinbrum by banishing Albaz and Mercurier from the graveyard, which we'll summon to the EMZ so that we're efficient on deck space. Or rather, field space, I should say. Mercurier is going to be searching Fallen of Albaz. And then we are going to summon Bystial Lubellion. We're going to make or grab this branded lost. And then we're going to fuse these two together. Albaz in hand plus the Aluber on the field for Fusion Lubellion. Then we're going to discard our last card in our hand. And then we're still not going to activate Quem here. We're just going to do Branded Lost. And we're going to grab Shrouded this time. And we're going to make Mirror Jade via Lubellion plus the banished Albaz. We're going to Shrouded here. And we're actually going to send Branded Sword. And you can chain Branded Sword while you're at it. We're going to grab this Mercurier back. This will stop Nibiru. If they are holding it here, now you have a negation for it. And then we drew whatever. We'll assume it's a dead card or just something we set like Droplet. Okay. Mirror Jade effect. And now we're going to be sending... excuse me. Titaniclad as per usual. Then we're going to negate him with Rinbrum. Bounce a card, and we're going to put back the Bystial Lubellion. Still no Quem. No reason, really. And then we're going to be grabbing... which Bystial you grab doesn't super extra matter because it's going to be... Well, it matters, but not like for the sake of the combo. Which one you pick, it's going to be either, in my opinion, Magnemite or Druisworm. Saronir we can send off of like so many different things that we don't need it right now. We're not going to... Like, we already have Mercurier in hand, so we don't need to do that. I think the best one to send or get off of Bystial Lubellion here is Druisworm, because Druisworm can be disruption, and then you can fuse it off with whatever, and then it'll also send a card back. So here we're going to grab Druisworm, but if you wanted to grab Magnemite, that's honestly probably fine too. Okay, and we're going to end our turn. Titaniclad. I'm going to get an Albaz, and we are not summoning him to the field. Albion the Branded. And then we got options, but I think, again, you could debate between which of the three you want to set. Whichever one you're feeling, we'll just do Banishment. But Branded in red is really good. You have an Albaz in hand, plus like Mercurier, Druisworm, and, you know, so on and so on. But this is a honestly terrifying hand. Albaz in hand with Cartesia on field is honestly really scary. Because that'll immediately trigger Quem, who can then summon Albaz at functionally quick speed. You can also use Mirror Jade and then fuse Mirror Jade plus Albaz together to make Fusion Lubellion, because Fusion Lubellion's any dark. And now that Mirror Jade's not on the field, you can just summon another Mirror Jade and you have another Mirror Jade. Or, you know, even further, you could summon, you know, it goes on and on and on. You get it. There's a ton you can do here. This should beat pretty much any deck in the game. They would need a God Hand to beat this. So, those are all the combos I'll show you. This is one of the only more advanced ones that involves a 3-card combo. But it is one you'll see like every once in a while, so I wanted to show it off. And what a 3-card combo looks like. Alright. Alright, and that's the guide. Thank you for watching. I know it's a little long, but it's not as long as like the 19-hour guide or others like that. I feel like I went through a lot of the lines, a lot of the 1-card and 2-card combos, and even the 3-card combo at the end there. I kind of had to work for to find. I hit the retry button a lot more times than I thought I would have to. Regardless, I hope this gets people a better starting foot with the deck and puts them on the right path. The reason why I made this video was so that I could link something to people when they ask, like, hey, what can I watch or what guide should I look at when trying to learn branded and all like the basic lines and whatnot. And it's hard to recommend things, um, like, because everybody learns in different ways. And I don't know the thought processes of people who made other content. So I help in people and answer a lot of questions that they ask, like all the time. And to have something that I can point to and just be like, hey, this is a guide I wrote. If you have any questions, you can just go ahead and ask me. Um, so I hope this helped. Whoever watched it, feel free to ask questions. I check periodically, like every couple days or so. If you're on the Master Duel Meta Discord, you can go into the branded channel and probably get me plus a bunch of other people who are even more active than I am to respond to your questions. I'm not even a helper. I just play the deck a lot um, in that Discord. So, have a good rest of your day and make sure to beat the shit out of your opponent with large, scary dragons. Bye.